And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and we're going to be discussing Big Sky Episode 7, I Fall to Pieces. Should have been called We're Going to Need a Bigger Boat. I don't know why they didn't call it that. That's what I would have named it, being the opening line. But yeah, a lot happened this episode. Before we get started, if you haven't hit the sub button or the bell, please do so you'll be notified every time one of these videos goes up. A lot of other content on the channel, a lot of new stuff on the way. Leave a comment, leave a like. That really helps out the videos and the channel. And yeah, let's go. I was going to start with Ronald, but let's start with Rick, actually. Because I set it
I
up.
like.
Rick Legowski is awake, and he does not remember anything. Or at least it appears he doesn't remember anything. I was questioning whether or not that was legit or if he's playing an angle, but I'll assume for the moment that he's legit not remembering. And it appears 2 to 3 years because he didn't remember his father had passed away, which was about 3 years ago. He doesn't remember any of the things he had done with Ronald, the crimes, the kidnappings. He keeps quoting Jaws for some reason. You said you had a theory about that, actually.
Well, I just think that he's trying to build the defense. Like when you said you're not sure whether or not he really remembers any of this stuff, a lot of the things that he's doing and saying, I've had some pretty bad concussions, and this is, a couple days post him waking up. So him not remembering shit or him, being like a week off, like I get it. But I think that a lot of the stuff that with Rick is that I don't know necessarily that he doesn't remember. Oh, excuse me. I think he's building up a defense. I've had several head injuries and I've had a couple brain boo-boos that make you forget stuff. So I've never been shot in the head. So I imagine that the way they described the bullet going through and then taking out parts of his frontal lobe. So I believe that he's suffered some pretty severe brain trauma, but what he's doing to me feels more calculated. Just because if this is how he is the rest of the show, it would still make sense, but it would to me be less plot building. If he's basically building a defense, it would go a lot more into his character than him just forgetting everything.
Well, we're introduced to a new character who gets a lot of screen time, a whole lot of screen time, actually, for this being her first episode. She is a Montana State Trooper union lawyer, and her name is Penelope, and they say her last name, I can't pronounce it, starts with a D, but she lives by the motto, best efforts, challenging times, and she tells a little story about a chicken, which... It's an interesting story, but basically, I guess they're trying to quickly make the point that she likes to win at any means necessary, and she's building the defense for Rick. And I think if he in fact is faking it, that in conjunction with whatever it is she comes up with, maybe he does get off. That was something they were concerned about. That's why they needed Grace to identify him as the murderer of the fisherman, because they were basically saying there's a chance, depending on how the defense plays it, they could try and make it where he's not charged, or the charges are less severe for the kidnapping stuff, because he technically wasn't the one that did the kidnapping. So they really needed to pin him with the murder. My thought was, and I don't know how law works in this way, but could the argument be because of the brain, like you were saying, because of the brain injury, you could make an argument that he's not technically not the same guy he was before he was shot in the head. Therefore, how can you punish him? And now I'm thinking, I guess that's the angle they're going to go with.
Even if they found a bunch of evidence, he wouldn't be fit to stand trial because now he's fucked up in the head. So they would still, they could still convict him, but he could still go to jail or a mental hospital for forever. But that angle, I think without them identifying him as killing somebody, it's still like circumstantial. Like him being there, his defense could just be like, no, I wasn't. It's one of those things. Or I was trying to help you guys. I was trying to find you. because when Cassie shows up, he's just standing in the basement. Cassie has, a feeling that he's in on it and all this stuff, and we know because as the viewer, we've seen it. But as a defense attorney, he could have been there to rescue those girls. He got a tip that they were here, and he could throw Ronald under the bus quick, fast, and in a hurry, and be like, you know what, I was working kind of undercover, and I was trying to, infiltrate this organization. So there's a lot of ways to spin it. And I think that when you look at, we've been introduced to I don't know what the state trooper chief is called. I don't know if they're lead trooper, chief trooper. I don't know. But she seemed very odd the first time. And so I'm not 100% sure that the state trooper organization, or at least this branch of it, isn't in on the whole trafficking thing. So they would go along with he was undercover. They would try to cover for him so that he wouldn't get in trouble. So there's a lot of ways for him to get out of this. But if he's not fit to even stand trial at this point, and with her, when they found the other body, when they were able to find that, it throws a wrench in that a little bit. But depending, this public defender lady is an amazing attorney just from the get-go, and I'm really curious to see how far they go with her.
Yeah, like I said, she got a lot of screen time to be introduced, brand new, and we had seen over the week that they've hired a whole bunch of actors to play new roles that are coming up. Because my theory now is basically, especially based on how this episode ended, they had a 10-episode arc that will sort of have an ending, maybe a little open-ended, and the fact that they got picked up for an additional 11, they're going to, have to create those stories. Therefore, they need other characters, and so they've been hiring a bunch of actors to fill those roles. Ronald, at the end of the episode, it appears that he's screwed. There's a lot that happens with him over the episode. His mother confronts him and basically says she's going to turn him in, and then he kills her. We get full Norman Bates style scene where she's sitting in the chair. He turns the television on as if she's still alive. Very creepy. He's trying to get to to the Legowski household because he knows that Rick has something that could possibly tie him to the crimes. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't exactly know what it is he's going for, but he knows Rick has a secret room. He does get into the home. He gets access to whatever this thing is. I couldn't tell if it was a book, a phone, or a combination of the two. It looked red. It was in a bag. It was in his closet through his wall. But unfortunate for Ronald, it's at this exact moment that Cassie and Jenny show up with a police sketch that was provided through the help from Jerry. And it's him. Merrilee sees it and is like, oh shit, he's here. They draw weapons. They're going to get him. Will he be captured in next week? Will he jump out the window? I don't really know with this show. It's hard to say because it is surprised me quite a few times. Does Ronald's story need to end in the next couple episodes? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What are your feelings on his character's story arc?
Well, and that's the thing. We are aware now that this got picked up. So whose story is going to end? Is Rick? Are they basically going to go Rick all the way till the end of this, and then rewrite the end of his story to carry it on? He gets off instead of gets convicted, or is it Ronald that basically goes forward? I think only one of the two will be carried through the second half of this season. I don't know that both of them will. I think that one of them will be important to kind of carry on the torch of the organized, human trafficking, but I don't know that both of them will go forward. That being said, I'm not 100% sure which one. The way they introduced the lawyer, my assumption is that it's going to be Rick's story that's going to be more important, and I don't know that Ronald makes it out past the 10th episode.
Well, Merrilee has grown and grown and grown. She started as sort of this little minor character. Now she's one of the main characters, and I enjoy her on screen. I think she does great for the role she has. I almost want as no anyone who's listened to the reviews, I enjoy the character of Rick Legowski, and I sort of want him to stick around. I want her to stick around. I think there possibly are more stories to tell. Ronald, it's not that I want him to go or want him to be killed off necessarily. It's just I don't know what you do with him now. Now that they
That's
sort,
the thing is that
yeah,
they're going further with him. I don't know. You can go a lot further with Rick because he's still alive and
yes.
he got brain damage. So
And with Ronald being having now killed his mother, so that story's ended. Marilee knows who he is. That story has ended. So now it's like, well, the only thing really left is sort of his obsession with Jerry, which we get a little bit of her going to Cassie and Jenny. Like I said, she helped with the sketch. She's now hiding out with some friends. She sort of got some like PTSD basically from the kidnapping. So we're getting some stuff with her, and I guess he could potentially go after her, maybe, but at this point, it doesn't really make sense for him to do that. Um, Now that he's completely been exposed. Now Marilee doesn't know his real name. I forget the name she's calling him. So, but she knows what he looks like, and they're gonna put that picture all over, I'm sure the news, and yeah, I don't see how he gets out of this.
Mitchell,
That's okay, Mitchell. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't think that he can. And that's the thing is that now every way he turns, he did redo his truck and stuff. So if he wanted to basically just hoof it, and if he left Montana, there might be a better chance of him not getting caught. But
What
him
if he
staying
runs up
where,
to Canada? Maybe that
yeah,
maybe that book gives him some knowledge. He runs up to Canada and starts operating out of the country. There's a scenario where you keep the character around potentially.
it's the only way I see his character still being around going forward. Otherwise, he's trapped himself into a corner. Everything that he keeps trying to do keeps getting foiled by Cassie and Jenny every single time. And now, because they've been like a step behind him this whole time, and now they're starting to get, I don't know what half of a step is. They're a lot closer now, but they're right behind him. And I think that if he stays within that Montana area, he's done. So that's to me the only way I see his character going forward.
And going back to Rick again, real quick, between the news coverage, everybody's amazed that he's survived the gunshot wound. Having a, representation through the union lawyer that might be able to do something for him. They may be able to spin it in a way where he comes out of this thing and absolutely gets away with it. I don't really know, but it just that was the vibe I was getting through the episode because that was something we said last week. We're like, well, shit, if he's alive, how the hell could he get out of this? And now I'm like, okay, I think I see them laying the groundwork for that. Um, I don't know, and the big question also is he faking it? Which
Well,
you think maybe he is.
it's called the Jaws defense.
The Jaws defense. That should be the name of the next episode.
I agree.
Jaws defense. um, so yeah,
I might do something shitty or stupid now. That's what I'm gonna go to. I'm just gonna start quoting Jaws.
just exclusively shit the bed and quote Jaws.
Just forget to turn some stuff in at work, and then just be like, "I'm gonna need a bigger boat." Like what?
We were told also this episode as far as potential new characters. So, like I said, I know they cast a bunch of new characters. I don't know who they'll be playing. We got Penelope, but they mentioned the FBI were coming in. They were going to take the case. Now, we didn't see any FBI agents. We didn't get any named characters or anything, but they said they were coming in. So my assumption is that in the next episode or two, potentially, we'll get another character or two that will be involved. That's just me speculating based on what was said in the episode. Do you think that'll happen? Do you think that'll be too much in terms of police presence? Because now you have Cassie and Jenny doing their thing. You have the sheriff and his people are sort of split on how they should interact with Jenny and Cassie, potentially the FBI.
I don't think so. Only because an FBI presence isn't going to like stick around. They're not going to set up shop in this area and then just totally just run shit from here on out. It may help close out this story, the human trafficking story, because I imagine that once they found out the kind of ties to that, I imagine that they will be around for at least the remainder of this storyline. But I don't foresee them being a presence for a long period of time. And depending on the state trooper, I guess, involvement, whether they're part of the trafficking or not, I imagine that they will probably stick around. And the sheriff or the sheriff's department, it I think that depends on what the role of the sheriff is, because I think it's just his face that makes me think that he's up to something or that he's guilty. Like, he didn't say or do anything, but his face always makes me feel like he did something. But depending on where they go with their story, I think that all three of them right now, it's okay because it works with the story. But I think going forward, you wouldn't want that many because it starts to get convoluted and it starts to kind of muck up the story a bit. But right now, it makes sense with what's going on. So to me, it depends on how big a case is that they're given, because this one kind of fell in their lap. For them to be private investigators, they're not going to have FBI level cases all the time. This one just kind of fell in their lap because of their proximity to, the people involved in it.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about, we had several sort of questions brought up in the comment section for last week's review. And I thought there were some good questions, and I just wanted to discuss them. First up, we'll go with the Richard Cheney. Said, how did Ronald get Merrill Lee's cell number? And he's right. I don't recall that exchange happening. She acted as if it was no big deal when he called her the first time. This was last week, and then continued to call her this week.
I think it happened when he offered her a date to that dance thing. When he gave her, I think that's when it happened. Remember when he invited her to the little hoedown or whatever it was?
Little dance. But she sort of called him out on that shit this episode. When she's like, I just want to, help you out. She's like, what do you want to invite me to? I don't know what she said, but something about it, the community dance or whatever.
But I don't know what else to call it because it was really weird. It looked like a retirement community dance club, and it was very odd. But I think that's when it happened. I would have to go back and confirm it, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it possibly. I when I read the question, I too do not recall that exchange because it might have been, but at the same time, you would have think she would have deleted it because would she want? You know what I mean? She's married. Does she want to have some dude's number in her phone? Would if Rick had seen it? She doesn't seem like the type that would have taken that chance. So there's a few little plot holes there, I think, potentially. I don't know.
Well, yes and no, because I don't think that with all the stuff that was going on with Rick and everything, she was under the assumption that he was basically just ignoring her. Like, he didn't give a shit anymore. So I think that some of that, yes, but some of it, I think that she wasn't really concerned about it because she didn't. Now, I can tell you honestly, if my wife had other random dudes' phone numbers in her phone and was just like, oh, yeah, I was just talking to a friend, I'd be like, bullshit, who the fuck is that? But I think that for what it was, Jesus Christ. Well, the dogs like shaking their heads at the same time. But I think that Rick stopped caring. Rick wasn't paying attention. I mean, she mentioned it. She was just like, we're not even together at this point anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? Oh, well, I got to go do this investigation. So I think that he probably never would have realized it, but I don't know that, like you said, I don't know that she's a type of person who would have kept it either. So I don't know.
Tyrell Jackson says, had several questions. I'll just go with the one that I really it could potentially, it is a plot hole. Basically asking about Cassie and Jenny being real private investigators. Cassie wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but up until the end of last week, she really wasn't. And yet she was there. She pulled a gun. She shot a state trooper. Why wasn't she taken into custody? At least for, you know what I mean, questioning for shooting a state trooper. Even if she did help the situation, there's very few scenarios I could think of where you would just be allowed to do something like that. And
I
Tyrell
do
Jackson
not
asked that question.
I do not disagree at all because and we talked about that. I was like, wait a second. If even if it was in self-defense or whatever, when she said he got to 4 and I shot him. Uh he never drew his gun. He was far enough away where she didn't feel an imminent threat of him, tackling her, taking, advantage of her or overpowering her. There to me, everything that she was saying, there is no reason for her not to be uh like hemmed up on that. The only thing I can think of is, I mean, they all know each other, and the sheriff was just, like, hey, Cassie, I need you guys to stop doing this. So I think that they all know each other. And because of maybe what happened with her husband, which we still haven't got the full story yet, maybe because we know that she was in the police academy, I think that the sheriff himself may have just gave her a pass and been like, you know what, if you try to go anywhere,
But
I
this is
still
one of those where you
with
would think the FBI or someone would be like, who shot him in the head?
well, that may come up though. That may be a thing.
True. That could be part of
Like,
the defense, maybe even.
yeah, and that could be. I think that, and that's what I'm saying. As much as this is a network show and some of the writing's a little hokey, they've answered a lot of the questions. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to leave this open ended. I haven't seen a whole lot of plot holes yet that haven't been answered. There's been several that were questionable, and then like 2 episodes later, they kind of answered it. So I think that this may be answered, and I hope so because it is kind of odd that the person who shot Rick didn't get charged or held, and they basically just said, "Hey, what happened?" And that was it.
Final question I'll ask because I actually replied to this in the comments because yeah, how did Mark Heskin says how did they know to dig for the truck? And I was like, yeah, they don't even yeah. How did they know to dig for the truck? The one that Cody was in.
uh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that they just, yeah. Why the fuck? Well, they probably saw a backhoe, and then they know he was last seen with Rick, and because they know that's where the girls were, and I imagine that there's probably a giant pile of dirt. You know what I'm saying? It's probably just dirt because they haven't like unless they resodded it, they threw like grass over top of it or something. I don't imagine that working. Like,
Because
I
it's
think it's obvious that something was there. I don't think that they knew the truck was there. I think they probably just started digging, being like, hey, "What the fuck's down here?"
Because it's what and I could understand a investigation saying we needed to check these lands out and we need to look for everything. But this look the way they shot it, and it's one of those where the writers probably just said, "Who cares?" They find the truck, they find Cody's body, but it's yet again one of those sort of little plot holes. I don't think it's a big deal, but it was a good point because I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, what the hell? Because none of the girls knew about that. No, you know what I mean? There was no one there that knew that the truck and Cody had been buried in that place. So,
No, and that's one of those things where it could have just been one line of dialogue to clear all that up. Just like I just said, be like, "Why is all this dirt here?" And then 2 seconds later, it could show them it fast forwarding like 6 hours. Now it's nighttime and raining, and then they find something. It could have easily been explained with one line of dialogue instead of it being left to us to assume that something happened. So
yeah, yeah. So, anyone else who if you leave questions in the comments, so we try to answer them in the comment section. If I find them very interesting, I might bring them up on air on occasion. And a show like this, I I noticed that everybody sort of had a question, and I was like, you know what? I don't know the answer to these, and me and you have not discussed them at all. So I figured it'd be something interesting to do here. Um, what else did I want to talk about? I covered just about everything, I think. Let's real quick talk about Grace and Danny. Their storylines are potentially over. I mean, they even go as far as to say, "Yeah, we want to leave Montana. We never want to come back." There's a whole line of dialogue for that. Maybe they have to be there for the trial potentially if there's some kind of trial situation. But I think they're writing the characters out. Do you agree, or what do you think?
I think so, because I think, like we've both said, if the original storyline was only 10 episodes or whatever, there's no reason to hold on to those characters. Once they've pointed the finger at who kidnapped them, what else would they have left to offer? Like, there's nothing. They're minors. They're not going to be new minor private detectives. Like, there's nothing for them to offer the story. And although I've liked, what's the younger one who got stabbed in the leg?
Grace.
Grace. I don't know why I was trying to call her the other one, but Grace, when you have her character who's been great, to me, there's nothing left for her. Once the story's wrapped up, there's nothing really involved with them left. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're writing them out. Now, Jerry is from there, and they've already seemed to be setting up the idea of her working with Ginny and Cassie. I could see a scenario where the PTSD stuff maybe leads to her being like, you know what, I want to get into investigations. I want to stop things like this from happening. I'm just projecting what I think potentially could happen. The fact that she's from there leads me to believe that she'll stick around. I mean, they could, in theory, write her off, but I think they're going to keep her around. I think.
Well, and it may be not even just that. They could try to use her because the human trafficking is not going to stop. Like, with as much PTSD as she has, she may try to conquer that by going undercover or trying to help or doing something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Or she may help in trying to find Ronald should he make it out of the 2-story window jump he's getting ready to take.
Yeah, I think. But yeah, we talked last week about how the thing about this show that keeps you coming back is that last 2 minutes every episode leaves you hanging. It's like, oh, what's going to happen next? And it's a smart way to write a show. The show is doing very well. The ratings are up. Like I said, they've extended it, so it's got some success behind it right now. We got quite a few more episodes now because the season's been extended. I think I've gone through everything I wanted to talk about. Do you have any other thoughts on episode 7 of Big Sky?
No, I don't think so.
Real quick, before we wrap this up, we looked at was it for Euron? Go ahead.
The way to keep Grace and the sister around is through the son.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't.
That's important. I was just thinking of when you said, "Is there a way to keep them around?" I was just like, "Well, maybe
they could."
That's feels lazy, but
I'm hoping they write him out.
Yeah, God. Maybe he goes for.
Yeah, so we don't need this character. But
less screen time than the other ones.
Yeah, he's barely been there. The few scenes he has appeared in, I didn't think there was anything special about him. I don't know. Well, we'll see. He wants to be a cop like his father, Cody Hoyt.
It's a way to it's a way to keep Ryan Phillippe around. That take some more flashbacks or whatever. Like, I want to be just like my dad. Remember this time we went fishing, and then
he taught me how to shoot.
Taught me how to tie a square knot.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was Your Honor, I can't recall. One of our recent reviews, I asked the question, hey, what is it that the audience, what do you want us to review? Because there's a lot of shows coming to an end here in the next couple of weeks. And so we got some good responses. And one of them, it's Snowfall. Is that what?
Yep.
Yeah, Snowfall. It's on FX, and it's already had several seasons. Spencer's already gunning through the series.
Watch it first.
He'll probably catch up. I doubt that I will. I'll be honest with you. I'm definitely gonna watch some, and I'll keep up as much as I can. But and I believe Larry. I don't know what he'll do, but we do plan on reviewing the upcoming season of that series. So
Really good.
we do listen. We listen to the audience. Things you guys want us to do, we will do. Now, there's another show that was requested, Gangs of London, right?
Yeah, but I think it's already done. And
It's already done, and that's what I wanted to say. Is it there potential that we could do a review for it at some point? Because I do want to watch it, maybe, but it's already a finished series. Therefore, there wouldn't be the weekly episodic reviews like we do. So, like The Expanse, that's a show I really, really want to get into.
it
There's
was
just
like 50 episodes that we had to catch up on.
there's so much, and I just I don't have the time. But yeah, so anyone who's listening to this right now who doesn't watch our Your Honor reviews, I asked the same question: is there an upcoming series you would like us to do? A weekly series. Like I said, we will be doing Snowfall. I think Invincible was one we were talking about doing as well, the animated series on
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
Is that going to be weekly, or are they going to drop it all at the same
It's
time?
going to
I
be
don't-
weekly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And then I want to say there was a third series. I don't recall. I have to go check my list. Clarice. We were still debating Clarice. I don't know yet. Maybe, maybe not. it's it. I'm on the fence. We'll see. We'll see. But anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye.